All right, everybody. Mike Jones. I'm here with Precinct 3 Commissioner candidate of Ellis County, Richard Rozier. Richard, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
Coming in.
Glad to be here, man. Appreciate the invitation.
What?
The
Oh,
opportunity.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you came in. I know I've done an endorsement already, but that's just one man.
I understand.
You got other people to talk to.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I'm tickled pink.
And I know the history and the background and the relationship, and I got no issues with
Yeah,
it.
he's always supported me.
Yeah,
sure.
sure.
And but I'm glad you're here because we can talk about some of the things. Because I'd said on here that if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you
I didn't hear that, but I understand.
Yeah. So I think first of all, tell the people who you are.
Good. Well, I'll be glad to do that. So my name is Richard Rozier, and my wife Karen and I, been married going on 42 years now. I live over on Black Champ Road here in Ellis County in
Nice
Precinct 3. And we've been there for about 12 years now. We bought the property about 15 years ago and then built a house and moved in about 12 years ago. So we came from DeSoto and pretty much grew up there. And as you know, served in that community as mayor back almost 20 years ago now. So it's been a while. And haven't served in public office. I ran against Carol Bush for county judge 6 years ago.
Yeah, I supported you on that one.
I remember it, and I'm very, very thankful for that. We came up a little bit short, lost by 183 votes, getting to a runoff. I think if we'd have got there, we'd have been successful, but
Right.
we didn't quite make it. So anyway, I really, to be honest, Mike, I thought I probably would never run for public office again. But this opportunity, and I guess if you want, you may want to ask me the question, but why am I running? But
Yeah. Well, no, go ahead. I mean, you brought it up, so let's just
get right into
get right
it.
into it, brother.
Yeah. Well, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, a friend of mine who's lives down in the precinct, down towards the Maypearl area, who's been there a long time, and a guy I went to high school with, but's probably lived in Ellis County for 40 years and done business down here, called me and he said, I'm thinking about running for county commissioner in Precinct 3. And I said, well. He said, what do you think about that? And I said, well, our current county commissioner has indicated he's not going to serve but 2 terms. So, let's talk about it and see how time came along. And so time went by, and then, the commissioner said, well, I'm going to run for another term. And so I called my buddy. I said, what are you going to do? He said, well, I can't run. This several months later. And he said, I can't run, but you need to run. I said, well, I wasn't thinking about running, but
Yeah.
But anyway, so in the intervening time, several other people came to me, and leaders in what I'd call leaders, not necessarily in the county government, but in the county, came to me and said, we'd like for you to consider. We think there needs to be a change. We'd like for you to run. And so Karen and I started praying about it, and I started talking to a lot of people, and I had be really honest.
Yeah.
Some folks were like, no, it's not a good idea, and other folks were, yeah, that's a great idea. You ought to do it. So you've been around, you know how that goes.
Yeah, I do. I mean, when this is all done, everybody you meet after this will say they voted for you. Not one person will say they haven't. It's just,
Yeah.
So you were the mayor of DeSoto, but during that time of mayor, did you before mayor, did you run for Dallas County judge?
That was after I was mayor. So in 2001.
Okay.
In December of 2001, I filed and ran in 2002 in the Republican primary for county judge.
And who were you running against?
I ran against a lady named Margaret Kelleher, who was a district court judge at that time in
really?
Dallas, and she was from Highland Park, and I was from DeSoto. And
It's a big difference.
I don't know if you noticed, but there's more Republicans in Highland Park than there are in DeSoto.
Yeah.
So
we won't go. We'll let y'all figure that one out.
yeah, we had a good race, and I wasn't successful with that. So yeah, that was.
Was it an overwhelming loss, or
it was.
I don't want to. I'm not trying to break a scab or anything.
No, there's no. And I listen. This was my 6th political race. I've been fortunate enough to win 3, and I've lost 2, both of them for county judge. But my attitude about that is, if that's where the Lord wants me, I'm going to be there.
Okay.
If that's not where He wants me, I don't want to be there. And that's why I got in. How I got in this race is we prayed about it a lot and felt like it was what we should do. Not mad at anybody, not trying to cause a problem for
And
anybody.
we're not going to bash anybody on here.
Amen.
That's just how this show goes.
Yeah, and I didn't come here for that.
Yeah, no. You came
And
here.
I haven't. And I've not even used that, one of these phrases, I hate my opponent. I mean, I haven't even used that kind of language, and I'm not going to. But I appreciate the fact that you get a chance to come share.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like I told somebody, after this is all said and done, after the campaign season, so to speak, is over, I want this to continue on. So I don't want to alienate anybody.
Sure.
Simply, I have my personal choices, and I've given those. I mean, it's my channel. I can do it. You know what I'm saying? But I'd already given. But I'm only one guy, and I'm only one person, and other people have different opinions than Mike Jones has. It took me a long time to figure that one out. It had to be beat into me, actually.
Yeah.
But so I was shocked that you messaged me, because I thought that you might be upset, because we're all kind of in the same circle, have been for years.
Right.
You were in Dan's building before Dan was in the building.
That's right. I sold that building to Dan. That's
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
In fact, I went over there for. It wasn't a watching party. I think it may have been a watching party.
Yeah, we had a little that night. We had a watch party at the office there, and I know you and Johnny Brown and others came by.
Yeah. We were sure hoping you were going to pull that one off.
Yeah.
But now let's delve into. I think we've got enough of the background. Let's delve into, what does Richard Rozier feel is broke in Precinct 3?
Yeah, that broke might be a bit of a strong word. I think Paul and I both are what I would call conservative by conviction. In other words, we don't, we believe in the tenets of conservatism, the values, if you will, of low taxes. We believe in property rights, believe in the Second Amendment, believe in protecting the unborn. So I wasn't that wasn't motivating me. I don't feel that. I don't feel that again that there's an issue maybe of a lot of things broken. I think I want to bring a different emphasis, if that's fair.
What would that be?
And I'll share that with you.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think with a lot of so much growth that we've had in the county, that our county road systems is really suffering, and I think that we really need to pay a lot of attention. So I would want to try to bring some new innovation. I think maybe to bear that would make an improvement. One of the areas what I would want to do is I would want to build a 3 or 4, maybe 5 year plan of repair and redo of road, rebuilding and repair of roads. You're always going to have to be repairing, because there's always going to be damage, and with all the trucks we got, trash trucks and concrete trucks and school buses and everything that we now have.
Do you think that's not going on now in Precinct 3?
No, I'm not saying they're not doing a good job, and I'm not saying that it's not, but I think we could do a better job of our planning our work. So what I'm talking about is, like, we could have on the internet where people could go and look and see when their road is going to be improved. Not just like the potholes and that kind of thing, but there's a plan of next year my road's going to be rebuilt. And hopefully we rebuild it in a system that it's going to last a long time. And there's some new products on the market now that haven't been available in the past, where it's soil stabilization products that might give us a chance to have a longer life.
That'll be something that the commissioners have to vote on, though, because But you in your mind, you'll bring that to the table.
Yeah.
If the science, I guess,
if it makes economic sense and it makes it works. I would want to explore some of those possibilities, maybe to try it out and see how it works. But I think that I think we can do a better job of maintaining some of our right-of-ways where our roads are not as impacted by water, because water is a major factor in road safety and road.
Are you talking about
life,
flooding?
Health. Well, flooding. Well, sometimes in the country you can't. There's not much you can do about that. But I'm talking about like our bar ditches and making sure we keep the brush cleared back away from the road. I've traveled out there a lot and seen. I just think there's some areas where we could just, quite frankly, do a better job. I'm not trying to be critical. I just feel like there's some improvement that could be made.
Okay.
And then the other area that I feel really strongly about, and I've had some people on Facebook kind of challenge me about this when I said it,
By the way, I haven't followed anything on Facebook,
Yeah.
so this is all everything y'all are seeing is new to me. I'm not
Okay.
I'm not setting you up or nothing.
I know.
And
Oh, I
hope-
know. And I brought it up. You didn't bring
Yeah.
it up. But I believe that our infrastructure in the county that the county's not necessarily responsible for we're behind. And what I'm talking about is like our farm to market roads, our state highways. The state of Texas and the federal government or whoever it might be is not bringing the resources to Ellis County that they need to be bringing. We're growing so fast, and so many people are moving into. We're over here in your house in Midlothian. So many people moving in, particularly
my studio.
Yeah, the studio, yeah, and in Midlothian, it's growing quickly. It's the fastest part of the county, right? And so there are a lot of people that live in, let's just say, live in town that don't necessarily interact with the Commissioner's Road and Bridge District on a day-to-day basis.
That's true.
So, but they need. I'll give you a perfect example. Let's look at 9th Street or 663. When you go past where the new Kroger is, of course, getting through that at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening is a real
Oh,
challenge.
certainly, yeah.
But if you get south down there, it's still a 2-lane blacktop road. That should have been widened, in my opinion, years ago. Now you say, here's where people have asked me about it. They said, hey, that's a state issue. That's not a county issue. But I've seen it work in the past in Dallas County when I was mayor of DeSoto, our county commissioner, our Republican county commissioner, Ken Mayfield at the time, came to us. Yeah, you remember Ken,
Yeah.
real strong conservative. And he came to us and he said, what is the most important issues going on in DeSoto? And we said, I-35. So we started, and he helped us. We organized a group called the I-35 Committee. We met at the City Hall every month. We had TxDOT there. We had COG there. We had the different representatives that represent transportation issues. And we said, okay, what are we going to do about I-35 this month? And we gave assignments, and every month we kept up with that. And we said, we need right away. What do we need? Well, we went from that project not even being on the books to getting it on the books, getting it funded, and getting it built in about a 6-year period. That's light speed.
No, for an interstate,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, it wouldn't be even for a farm to market road now.
No, yeah,
Now.
it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause there's only so many dollars to go around.
Right.
What does the voters in that area, how do they feel about it? I mean,
Everybody I talked to, once I kind of explained to them that, yeah, it's not the commissioner's first role, but it is a role that the commissioner can play as far as working with the institution. There's a lot of groups, as you probably know, in North Texas, the RTC, the Regional Transportation Coalition, the COG, which is part of RTC's part of COG, the Dallas Regional Mobility Coalition, which represents the 5-county region, including Ellis. All these groups work on transportation prioritizing, and you've got to be there at those meetings. You've got to be there. You got to advocate. You got to fight for your dollars, right? We pay gas tax dollars. We register our cars. Part of that money goes to transportation. I mean, there's just tons of things out here where money's being collected in Ellis County, but being spent in other counties.
no, yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you on that. But what I've seen in the past, Richard, is, yeah, they'll agree to come in and do a road, especially a farm to market road, or these state roads, even like 287. But there's a match, or there's some kind of give and take. Either you give us some land so we can come through here.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to widen the road, almost all the time you're going to have to eminent domain something. You're going to if you're going to straighten 663 out, which if you're going to widen it, you're going to have to straighten it. Then there are eminent domain issues come in, and I live in the city, so obviously it's not going to affect me. But I know that some people that live out there, it's family property. It's
Right.
Property that maybe they bought, he or she bought with their spouse, and that spouse is no longer with us, and it means a lot to the family or whatever. And being a strong conservative, we believe in property rights.
Absolutely.
So, and I think it's admirable that we think about transportation, because obviously we all have to face transportation. But I don't want it to be easier for me at the detriment of somebody else. Does that make sense?
I agree 100%. And the other night, this whole topic of eminent domain came up at the Republican Forum, and I thought it was a great question, and I think your question is really good. And I believe that government, local government particularly, I believe local government is closest to the people and therefore the best government there is.
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Because it's people you go to church with or you see at the store. That's the people you represent.
Mm-hmm.
You're not up in Washington somewhere dictating things down to the local level. So I believe eminent domain exercised by local government is a thing that has to be done sometimes, but it ought to be very, 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 very rare. And it would be my goal to work with the people. Now, let's just say let's just take 663. If we were going to widen it down to 875.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're right. There's some areas we might have to get some right of way. Well, my goal would be to go talk to, hold neighborhood meetings, go sit down to people individually and say, listen, this is going to make it better for all of us. I understand about the family and everything and the history. And maybe we can't figure all that out, but we got to try. Because we can't leave it there's thousands of people moving down there.
Well,
and we can't leave it a two-lane blacktop road.
yeah, and Lord, I'm not smart enough to figure out what the right answer is for that. I just know that as staunch Republicans, we have to be the last line of battle to protect the people who vote us into these offices,
Right.
because we're literally talking to them. We're representing what they want, not what we want. You follow me?
I understand.
And this is just going back and forth with me and Richard. We ain't gonna sell anything today anyway. But I think people need to know that yes, eminent domain sometimes is necessary, but when is that? Grandma's not going to agree with you that it's time for that at any time. So what do you do as a...
Well, let me tell you a quick story. First, when I got elected to city council in 1994, the first meeting I went to, there was a flood control project that was going on in our community, and FEMA was a part of it. But again, we're the local government,
Sure.
so we represent the people in that town. So this is the first meeting I ever went to. They came to the council and they said, well, we've tried to get this piece of property, and they called out a man's name. And he was a local doctor in our community. They'd been there for generations. And they said, but he won't respond to us, so we're going to have to, and they were asking the council that night to give them permission to eminent domain this man's property. Mm-hmm. And, like you know what I said was, not no, but what, no.
Yeah.
And I said, has anybody talked to Dr. So-and-so? And they said, well, they kind of give you this stupid look. And anyway, long story short.
No one had talked to him yet.
Yeah. I said, well, I'm not going to vote to, I'm going to go see him.
Mm-hmm.
So the next morning I went to his office. I said, doctor, blah, blah, blah. He said, nobody's asked me.
Right.
And I said, well, here's what we're trying to do. He said, I'll be glad to sell you all the property.
That'd be awesome if that's
Yeah.
what we run into. But what if we don't run into that?
Well, again, what do you want to do? You want to leave it a blacktop road with thousands of people living down there?
I think that I represent the people of Republicans. Even as a constable, I still have, and one of those that's big on everybody's agenda, as you know, you live in Texas too, is property rights.
I agree, yeah.
They think that we need more property rights, not less property rights, and part of that is eminent domain, or a major part of that is eminent domain.
Yes, sir.
And I agree with them. I don't have a dog in this fight, but I represent them.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, you ought to care about what they think and what's going on.
No, exactly. Because if I don't, then they need to vote somebody else in that
Right.
will do their bidding, because they don't have time to do what you can do.
I understand.
They got to go to Dallas. They got to pay our paycheck, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to take the kids to the soccer and whatever. They want to make sure that the person that they're putting in that position is a fire and forget type of person. We put him there, we're going to forget, he's going to handle all this. So you got to know what the voter wants, or at least be in the same like-minded. And Ellis County, I believe, is a strong conservative Republican county.
Absolutely.
Every time an annexation comes up, we actually have people, Lewis Ponder, we have people that will get out and picket and get things signed.
And I was in favor of and supported the Tier 2,
Mm-hmm.
the no forced annexation. I'm in favor of it today. I think, and I'm glad the legislature passed it statewide.
Yeah.
And I was on the council and the mayor for 7 years. I have never annexed anybody, period. Now,
Involuntarily.
No, I've never annexed anybody.
No one's voluntarily wanted to
Well,
do it?
and you got to realize DeSoto was pretty landlocked, so it really
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
an issue. And
Yeah.
so I don't want to over state, but my point is I don't think I would have even if I could have, because I just don't believe forcefully taking people's property or annexing them into a city to force them to pay taxes and things is the right thing to do. So that's been my attitude. The only thing I can tell you about eminent domain, I can't ever remember, and I don't want to be quoted as going somebody slapping me and saying, "Yeah, you did on whatever."
On Mike's show.
I don't remember ever forcefully taking somebody's property through eminent domain. I do not believe that eminent domain ought to be given to private companies. That I don't believe in the bullet train
Oh, absolutely
and all that
not.
stuff. Yeah,
But I don't believe eminent domain ought to be given to companies that, let's just say the state for the FM 663. We're not going to pay for that. If that happens,
right.
if somebody
Well,
lobbies,
you're gonna pay for it. It's called
we've
tax
already
dollars.
paid for
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I mean,
Right.
that's apples and oranges. But it's going to come down to who's going to protect eminent domain of these people. That's going to be, who moved down here from DeSoto, who moved down
Right.
here from Highland Park because they wanted that little piece of heaven.
Right.
And now, here comes Big Brother, and we take that away from 'em. Yeah, we're going to upset one person, and it's going to please 1,000, but that one person is just as important as that 1,000. So
I wouldn't disagree with that, and I would want to do everything in my power or ability. Let me put that. Not power is not the right word. Ability to work with those people, sit with them, try to figure out an alternative that we can make, and do everything we could do. But if we ended up needing an acre or a quarter of an acre or whatever, and we've gotten everybody else to agree, and we've realigned, and we've done everything we could do, and we had to take a small portion of somebody's land that for whatever reason we just couldn't get it done, then I think you have to look at what's better for the whole, right? And now I'm just telling you, for me, it would be, and then you're right, I'm not going to be the guy doing it, it's going to be the state of Texas, but I would work with them to make sure that they protected the rights of the people, our local folks.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, we're not going to settle anything on this show, but I think we're getting some good, good subjects.
Yeah.
I do have some things I want to bring up.
Okay, good.
These are hard questions, Richard. Everybody knows me.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of the questions people ask me. I'm afraid of the ones they don't ask me.
There you go. I try to do, because like I said, I had Paul Perry in here.
Yeah.
So, and I've known him for, we go back into the 90s.
I understand.
So, I didn't know a whole lot about you, but I wanted to have kind of an educated idea of the issues that we're doing right now. Not necessarily Richard Rozier, the businessman in DeSoto, whatever. We're going to talk about what's going on here and why you're here. It's because you're running for Precinct 3.
Yes, sir.
Is that
Yeah,
fair?
fair.
Okay. There was an article that came out in the Ennis.
Yeah.
you're laughing.
I'm glad you're asking me. Go
Okay,
ahead.
well, good, because there has not been a retraction yet. So I hope that we're gonna get that figured out right here. It says, "I had my application in first." They're quoting you.
Yeah, you need to clarify that.
It says, "I had my application in first," said Rozier, "as Paul Perry has said from the start that he'd only serve 2 terms." Now, right above that, it says, "When Richard Rozier registered to run for Ellis County Commissioner last August, he did so believing it was for the Precinct 3 seat that Paul Perry has held for the past 2 terms, but that has all changed." So, I read that backwards. I should have read it in the list the way it came. But this reporter says you said that you signed up before Paul Perry in August, and you did so believing that Paul Perry wasn't going to run again. Is that fair? Is that a fair statement, or is this?
No, sir, it's not a fair statement.
Okay, so here's your chance, Richard.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the chance, and I somebody put out there on Facebook that if I'd lie about that, I'd lie about anything. Well, when you call somebody a liar in Texas, that's serious business. Other places may get away with that or whatever, but that's just taken, serious in my book. So
Sure.
anyway, I wanted to pay serious attention to it. So here's what happened. I got a call from the reporter that wrote that article. I didn't write that story, right?
No,
I
no,
just got a call.
It says Mark Ward.
Ward, yeah.
Okay.
So Mark called me and he said, "I'd like to interview you." I said, "Okay, great. When you?" So we met and he interviewed me like you and I are doing right now. Now he was taking notes. I didn't take notes because he was talking to me. Now, I remember the question though very specifically. I'm going to these guys that's got a pretty good memory. I have dyslexia, so I have a hard time reading. I don't have a hard time reading. I've got to learn how to read Greek and Hebrew and a bunch of other things. But I remember what people say because I had to, as a kid, I had to learn.
Yeah, gotcha.
So he asked, I can tell you exactly what he asked me. He said, "When did you get in the race?" And I said, I don't know what he wrote in his notes, but what I said was this. I said, "I went on the first day of filing." Now, you know that to be true because you were there.
Yeah, I was
right?
there.
And it was right when they opened.
November the 9th.
Yeah, now I didn't say I was first. I didn't try to say I got him before Paul, or I didn't say any of that, right? I said,
it's what he put, though.
I know.
Okay.
I'm telling you what I said, okay? And I can't, and I will talk about the retraction in a second.
Yeah, we're going to get there.
Yeah, so I said to him, I said, "Listen," he asked me the question, "When did you file?" I said, I went on the November the 9th, and I filed that morning, the first day you could file.
Yes. Legally, the first day it's the only day you could file.
Okay, so but where this word "first" came from was me saying the first day that you could file.
And that, you're assuming that, I guess, or
I'm assuming it, but he uses the word "I was the first."
Okay.
I didn't say I was the first.
Okay, gotcha.
I think he misread his notes, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay. Do you think he was over embellishing, or do you just think
I think he just
screwed it up?
misread his notes.
Okay.
But let me address this a little quick further. So then I said to him, he asked that question, and then I said, I filed my campaign treasurer a few days before that. I couldn't remember the exact date. I have now gone back and looked, and I filed that on November 7th. November 9th, I went, when you were there, you and I were at the same time, and as you saw me, I filed the paperwork. That's what I answered the question.
Okay.
In August, I wouldn't even think about running for this. Why would I say that?
Yeah, I mean, and if you hadn't filed your campaign treasury report in August, and you're saying you're running for it in August, and
That'd
that's
be
going to be
illegal, wouldn't it?
I think so. I'm not a lawyer, but
I think it is.
They would come after me for it, but that's all different. All right, everybody. Sorry for the. This is gonna look choppy. The camera stops, and it's stung me more than once. You think I'd learn, but there you go again. Okay, I think we stopped where we were talking about eminent domain, and Mr. Rozier here had told us that this is still kind of up in the air. When it comes to eminent domain, we're going to do everything. You're going to do everything in your power not to do eminent domain, but you still ride the party line that if an acre or a piece of person's property has to be done for the good of the rest, that you'll go along with it, right?
Well,
or am I misquoting you?
Let me just say, if we're talking about a state highway, the county's not going to be the one eminent domaining anybody. The state is probably going to be in that role. It would be even though that's the case, it would be my goal though as the county commissioner to work with my constituents to make sure we don't have to go to that drastic level.
What about we're talking about FM 663? So okay, so. Yeah. You're talking about all the state roads now. Obviously, the interstate.
My goal is trying to improve the safety and quality of life for people that live in this area, right? And that we not the more unimproved roadways, the more traffic we put on them, the more danger we have, and the more time people sit in traffic when they're trying to get home from work or get to work, or whatever, go to the soccer game or whatever it is they're doing. My emphasis is just on trying to make improvement. Now, it's not about trying to take somebody's property or use eminent domain. It would never be my goal to do that.
But it would come up.
It could come up, yes.
And that's why I'm getting your answer.
And I'm saying, if TxDOT says we're going to widen 663, and they say we're going to go down there and take Miss Jones's property,
right? It
would be my goal to, as Miss Jones's commissioner, to help her work a deal that's favorable for her. And if she couldn't work that deal, and I don't control TxDOT and state government, but
No, but
I'm not going to take her property.
right. But you're the one that, according to what you just told me, you're going to be the one that's trying to bring these people in to widen roads and
Yeah.
to do that. So,
Because I believe we can't afford just to live in the dark ages.
well, does that include Black Champ?
If it needs to be widened, sure.
Well, what do you think?
Sure. Well, I don't think Black Champ
personally.
and if you look at the master plan, the master roadway plan, it's not a major thoroughfare or artery, right? It's not a
Yet.
it could be, but as you know, it's kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
winds its way up through there. And there's more and more houses, but I live on 5.5 acres, and most of my neighbors live on larger chunks of land. So where I live at, I don't see it being a major area. Not like we're talking about on 663, where they're building huge neighborhoods of, 8,000 square foot lots.
No. But the people who are buying these,
But if
8,000
it meant that the road needed to be widened to improve safety and transport, yes.
But my point was, if the people who buy these, like my house is on a small lot. It's a normal tract home.
It's a residential street.
It's a residential street. I have no say so what's going on or anything. But it means just as much to me as your 5 acres
Sure it
mean to
does.
you.
Sure
So
it does.
traffic is an issue for me, just like traffic is an issue for
Right.
you, right?
Right.
So, but my property, now, I don't want them, let me tell you a quick story. When I bought this house, it was before I was married to the woman I'm married to. It was a dead end right here. This was the last
really?
house
Yeah.
on the block, and this was all pasture.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh yeah, I'm a cop, this is gonna be a perfect area for me. It's kind of like a protective area.
I've heard it, yeah.
The day I closed on this house, they broke down the barricade here. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And they started building. Now I had no say so in all of it, but I was to the point where, well, you could have told me, because obviously everybody
Right.
know this.
Right.
So I guess that's where I'm getting at. I had no say so. I had no one to represent me. I was
Right.
just one guy, and so it's a big issue to a lot of people. Property rights. It's a big issue to me. I know
agree.
it should be a big issue.
It is a big issue to me.
Okay, so Richard, I don't think we're gonna have to go back through this deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so hey y'all, I had already talked to Richard here a while ago, and the camera cut off. So if just bear with us for a minute, and we'll try not to make this a 2-hour deal, because I don't like hearing myself for 2 hours. So it says Mark Ward of the Ennis, is it the Daily News? Is that what it's called?
Ennis News or Daily News or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. The Ennis paper over there, and we're not trying to talk crap about those guys over there. But Mark Ward, Warde, wrote an article, right? His interview with you. And I'll let you explain how that went out. But the things I want to focus in on to start with is, number one, the first bullet point was, when Richard Rozier registered to run for Ellis County Commissioner last August, he did so believing it was for the Precinct 3 seat that Paul Perry has held for the past 2 terms. But all that has changed. He quotes you, I had my application in first. He's not just saying that. This guy is quoting you. Said Rozier, as Paul Perry, and then he starts the quotes again, as Paul Perry has said from the start that he'd only serve 2 terms. Now, I want to get your take on this. And I know you told me a while ago, but it's not on. I want you to tell them. I don't want to tell them what you were saying, if that's
Sure.
okay.
No, that's fair.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer the question. So Mr. Wood called me and asked me for an interview. I was happy to give it to him. I went over and met him in Ennis one day. And he took notes. I didn't take notes, because I was answering the question.
Sure, yeah.
But he asked me, I remember the question very specifically, and it's not what it says here. And I didn't answer it that way. But the question he asked me was, when did you get in the race? And I said, I filed on the first day you could file. Now, you and I know what that means, right? Because we're politicians or we
Sure,
run
yeah.
for office.
Yeah.
So that what I meant by that was that there's a 30-day window to file to run in a primary.
Yes.
Now, That window for this election was November the 9th. That was a Saturday morning. And so when he asked me that, I said I went on the first day. Now let's just get this first in here. Mm-hmm. On the first day that you could file, November the 9th.
And I was there, so
right. And when I came in the room, you were there. I don't remember what time of the day it was. It was early because they had just opened and they really were trying to figure out the computer and everything, if you remember.
Yeah, probably.
And then and I got in line behind you.
Yep. Because
you were filing for re-election.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I said I filed on the 9th. I said I filed. Now, if you don't know, when you run for public office, you have to also file what's called a campaign treasurer's report.
If you're going to accept funds.
Right, if you're going to accept funds. And that has to be done at the elections office. You can file that 3 years before the election if you want to. But I filed that on November the 7th. So when he asked me the question, this is exactly how I answered it. I said I filed on the first day that you could file, which was November the 9th, and I filed my campaign treasurer a few days before that. I've gone back now and looked at my records, and that was November the 7th, 2 days before. So that's the way I answered the question. What he's written here, I don't know where he got that from. I didn't say it. I knew before August that Commissioner Perry was running for re-election because I think he maybe announced officially in August or sometime back there.
I think as long as you're the office holder, I think you can say you're going to.
I don't care when he did it. Yeah. It doesn't matter to me. All I'm saying to you is that he had personally told me sometime before that he intended to run for re-election. So I would have never said I was in there before him. I didn't know he wasn't going to run. I knew,
and that's what this article is making it look like.
I understand, but Mike, you ever been misquoted in the press?
No, not me.
Yeah, no, not you. Yeah. Well, I'm just telling you, I didn't say it.
That's why I'm asking you.
And I appreciate the question. Yeah. I'm happy you asked it.
Now, let's discuss retraction.
Okay.
There hasn't been a retraction.
There has not.
And there has been no proof of a retraction asked for. Can you walk us through what you know of not having a retraction?
So I ran into Mark, the reporter.
You ran into him?
I saw him at an event Thursday night.
Okay.
After this came out Thursday, I guess it came out on Wednesday, but I didn't know about it till somebody put it on Facebook and said that I had lied about about this whole thing. Which to me, that's strong language when you call somebody a liar, and I didn't like that. But I've been, people have accused me of other things. That's the way campaign goes, and I'm a big boy, and I don't whine. But when somebody says you lied about it, then I want to address that.
Sure.
So anyway, I saw Mark, and I said, listen, and by that time he had gotten some calls at the paper. He came over to me, and he said, hey, I need to talk to you, and I said, okay. But I knew what he wanted to talk about. Obviously, I said, well, I want to talk to you. And he said, this has been questioned or whatever. And I said, well, let me tell you what I think happened. And we went through what you and I just went through. And I said, I didn't say that. I would not have said that because I didn't. It's just stupid for me to say that. Number one, it's very easy to check out. Number two, it didn't happen that way. Why would I say it did? What do I have to benefit? That's what you got to ask yourself. What would benefit me by saying what I said there?
Well, I'll tell you. Out from the outside looking in, how it would benefit you, it would look like, because Paul at one time said he was going to run two.
And I didn't come here to discuss what Paul said.
No, okay.
I told you that in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm not bashing. We're not bashing him. We're just talking. And you wanted to come up with some things that have been said.
No, I don't have a problem answering the question. I'm just saying. I'm not here to attack Commissioner Perry.
But I'm telling you, this is what it looks like.
Okay.
Not that you're attacking him. It's that you were going on the assumption that Paul Perry wasn't going to run again. That's what that makes it look like.
And I knew better than that because the commissioner had told me to my face that he intended to run long before August.
And I think that's where this whole issue is coming up is. That makes it look like.
And all I can tell you, Mike, is it's wrong.
Yeah, and I'll take you for your word.
And I don't think we got to the answer to your question. Mark said he's not going to print a retraction.
Oh, and did he give you a reason why?
Not really.
Okay. And these guys have they have nobody to report to. So
I mean, I'm not, like you said earlier, we're not bashing him or whatever, but for
No,
whatever,
in fact, I'm
he's
gonna
got
talk
to do
to
what
him.
he thinks is right.
yeah.
And
Did he record this? Did he have
I
a
don't think
recorder?
so. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah. You want to move on?
Sure.
Okay. So the next thing is, it says Rozier, 60, a native of Arcola, Mississippi, which is north of Vicksburg. Now that insinuates that that's where you grew up. Is that where you grew up?
No, sir.
Where did you grow up?
Well, my family moved around a little bit. My dad was in the insurance business, and so I lived in we lived in North Mississippi for first part of my life, and we moved to Memphis, Tennessee, in the '60s, I guess in the mid '60s,
Okay.
and we lived there till 1969. I think we moved to, or maybe 69. Yeah, we moved to New Orleans.
Okay.
And then we lived in New Orleans for a few years, and then in 1973 we moved to DeSoto. So that's pretty much where I kind of consider myself to have grown up in DeSoto.
Were you born? I mean, you consider where you were born to be where you're a native of.
He asked me where I was from, and I was born in Arcola, Mississippi. But I consider myself, I mean, I've lived in Texas for nearly 50 years, so.
So you would consider yourself a Texan?
Yeah, I went out home. Yeah, yeah.
And these are little non-players at all. But
Yeah.
when it comes to campaigns, they become a player because everybody, they zero in on everything. Oh, he's not being truthful here, and so that's why I asked you because
Sure.
I know that somebody had knew you when you were in New Orleans, and so it kind of like, well, why is? But you've already explained this Ward guy might have taken a little bit of what they call that when they just take a little bit of liberties with their story. I'd like to talk to this guy to tell you the truth because we don't need this type of thing in Ellis County. We don't need to where you have to come on here and say this was wrong. If it's wrong, Mark, you should print that it's wrong. I mean that's how you maintain your value. If Richard Rozier, if I take you for who you are, I don't expect you to lie to me because
Right.
eventually, well, I'm like you with this memory. Eventually, I'm gonna hear you say something that is contradicted to what you told me before, and that's not how we roll. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's how you roll.
Well, and it's one thing to make a misstatement by accident or you didn't know the date or something like that, but this is not that case.
No,
I
no.
did not say that.
Okay, and see that's pretty powerful.
It's very powerful.
Yeah. All right, anything else? The roads and the bridges.
I haven't read it. If you don't know the truth, Mike, I didn't read the article. I did read that first part, but before I got here.
Okay.
But I have not read the article.
Yeah.
He said what he said. I didn't write the article. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so Paul Perry sends me this.
Okay.
It's a text message from you to him on November the 7th, the day that you're saying that you put in your treasurer's report.
That's right. I had told him that I would tell him before I told anybody else, and since I was sitting in front of the elections office, I texted him.
So this would contradict the August thing,
Well, sure it would.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
I mean, I'm not I'm not an elephant. I don't have a memory of whatever they call an elephant, but I got enough to remember 2 months ago.
and you know the calendar,
Right.
Yeah.
We're talking about 2 months ago, right? And this text shows November 7th. And I told you before you pulled it out, I hadn't seen this till now.
Uh-huh.
I told before you pulled it out that I did it on November 7th.
Yeah.
When I was thinking about, let me back up just a second. When I was thinking about running, I went to see, I called Paul and I said, well, could we talk? And he said, sure.
What time frame were we talking about?
It was maybe October, November. It's probably either first part of November or October. I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it wasn't the first part of November. That was November 7th. It was several weeks before this.
So it was sometime in October.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I called him. I said, I need to see you. And he was gracious and he said, sure, let's meet over here. We had a cup of coffee. We had a great conversation. Nobody got ugly and there was no kind of, I said, listen, this is what I'm thinking about.
And you both are learned people too and mature.
Well,
Thank God.
Well, I appreciate that. And we had a nice conversation. There was no you know, and so I told him what I was thinking or whatever, and I told him then, if I decide to run, I will make sure and tell you before I do anything public or anything like that. And that's why I sent him a text.
Then this November 7th would be after Mark Ward's August.
I don't know how else to tell you, Mike.
No, I'm not here. I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah.
No, guys, I am not arguing. He's running for commissioner, and this is all you. And I'm not trying to contradict anything that you're saying.
I know you're not.
I'm just coming.
I'm saying we could go around the horn, but I can't do anything about it. He printed it. He wrote it.
You can't.
He wrote it. I didn't deceive anybody. I kept my word to the commissioner by sending him a note to tell him I was going to run.
Well, this literally, I think, is calling this big time into question. You know,
I think it is.
So,
I mean, it proves the case.
Yes, it proves your case.
I agree.
So, so don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to ham you up or anything.
Yeah.
My only issue is, y'all, and I've said it on here, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So I'm trying to get to the bottom of what we think is broke in Precinct 3. Because out of all the commissioners, and I don't get along with, well, I'm just one guy, but the only one I do get along with is Paul Perry. But Paul Perry, to me, has always been, he's always told me right or wrong, like me or not like me, he's always been straight up. And that's a quality that is lacking in our county. And I'm not here to support Paul Perry because Paul Perry is my friend. I really want to know what Commissioner candidate Rozier feels that Paul Perry hasn't done. Maybe I should ask that question that, do you think and I'll just ask it like this. Do you think there is things that Paul Perry should have done that haven't been done? Or let's just take the name out of it. Do you think there's things in Precinct 3 that should have been done that haven't been done?
Yeah, you really can't separate the people from the job or the precinct, can you? Now, so let me answer it this way, okay?
Yeah.
What I wanted, I'm not run. I don't feel as though, and I know this sounds kind of stupid when you say it, but it's not my intention to run or bash anybody. I'm running for the position, right? So when you asked me that earlier, I talked about transportation. I talked about some maintenance roads issues, and it's been my experience as I've talked to people around the precinct, either before I got in the race or since I've been in the race, that not everybody's as happy as you are. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just honest, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, this is America, obviously.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And when
do you think there's
the
more
commissioner
people
and I
that are
had
unhappy?
a very honest conversation about why, and he knows what my issue. I don't want to get on here and beat up anybody. I had a man-to-man, heart-to-heart conversation.
And I
with
might
him.
know it. I might be asking you in a minute, so we'll see.
Yeah. So anyway, that part, I don't feel necessarily I want to dig into that private conversation between he and I.
Yeah.
And then you may think that's avoiding or whatever. It's just honest. But
I'm not going to hold a gun to your head.
I feel like I could do a better job. Well, I better or I shouldn't be running.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I'm not going to be arrogant.
Specific? That's what I guess.
I think, and I think I was earlier, that I feel like
the transportation issues.
Well, just the transportation issues, the fact that the
and I'm not minimizing it.
Let's don't be oversimplifying it.
Yeah, and I'm not. Y'all can see what was before what we're talking about right now.
Right.
And I lump all what he said into this. So
yeah. So I mean, it's not.
I don't want you going away when I set
again.
you up on something.
No, I told you when I said that. I'm not afraid of the questions people ask me. I'm afraid of the ones they don't ask me. So I'm not really afraid of much. But anyway, I'm happy to answer any question. I'm not. You're not going to offend me or make me mad or anything.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I don't want to offend anybody. Even there's two people that's run for office right now that I could give a shit if I offend.
I know.
And we're not going to get into that.
I know who those. Yeah.
But the rest of we're all living in this. At the end of the day, we're all going to be working with each other or living under the leadership of somebody. Come March 4th.
Right,
and
I'm at peace with that.
Yeah,
and I will
gotta
be
able
at peace with that.
If you do get elected, then you're going to be a precinct commissioner elected in this county like I'm elected, and
Right.
we're going to have to work together. And I don't want us to be.
And we will share constituents.
Well, sure, yeah, absolutely. And people who support me will support you. Some of them won't,
Well,
obviously.
yeah.
And
The
it's
same
going to
would be true,
right?
right, yeah.
But they won't support me if I bash you. Does that sound? Because
Yeah.
and they shouldn't, because it's
Right.
one person. So I'm
Right.
just trying to make this as fair as I can, and I hope it comes off that way, guys. But I want this is going to be our last subject, if that's okay, because they're going to get tired of watching this. Again, I know my
Well, there's a
people.
couple of subjects I'd like to talk about. But go ahead and ask me whatever.
Biosludge.
Okay, I
What's
was
your
going to say
position?
you hadn't brought that up.
Yeah.
So here's a good a great question. So let me talk a little bit about the history of it. From my understanding is, I live, I told you I live on Black Champ. So across the highway from me is where they built the new high school. There,
Yeah,
the new
right.
Waxahachie High School. And I watched them dump that stuff out there forever. And it seemed like they were putting, like raising the level of the soil. But and you can smell it some. I live pretty good ways north, not like quarter of a mile or so north of there, but you can still smell it to some degree. I think there was no question that 6 or 7, whatever it was, years ago, it was being abused, overused. Maybe it wasn't regulated. Maybe it wasn't cleaned in the proper way. The whole concept of thinking about human waste is repugnant to me.
Sure it is.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, and I'm sure it is to a lot of folks. And I've heard from a lot of people that lived closer maybe than I did to it, that it was unbearable. I hear that, I don't support that. I don't support that sort of thing. But I've also talked to a lot of farmers and ranchers out in the precinct. Last year, there was about not last year, 2017 indications and records, ag records show there was about $75 million of ag production in Ellis County. Well, that's an important part of our county.
yeah, no, it is.
So, and any type of organic material, whether it's cow or bat dung or whatever it might be, it doesn't smell good, all that kind of thing. So I want to make sure that anything we put on the ground is safe. It's not going to leach into our waters and things like that and cause problems. So, but I will tell you, I'm not an expert on biosolids or biosoils. I've done some research on it. The largest producer of that material that came into our county came from the Trinity River Authority.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have a board member that lives here in Ellis County that's appointed that board by the governor.
I'm glad I get hold on.
I understand.
And Paul, by saying that though, Paul supported me through that whole issue publicly,
I understand.
and so and I took cojones. Can I say that? You think? Yeah. That took cojones because there was so much, that to take a stand in support of somebody that was facing 9 felonies and been arrested.
Right.
I mean, oh my. A normal person would go, holy cow, there's got to be something. If they're doing this over and over and over, this guy's got to be dirty. But he never once treated me different. He always supported me publicly, and
You got to be thankful for friends like that.
I do. And wasn't a whole lot of people in that box.
I understand.
And my wife and I, we would go to Plano to eat because we were so ashamed. I couldn't tell people, and of course, if
Right.
I was to tell them
Right.
what was going on, they wouldn't believe me. It's like
understand.
everybody's innocent.
I understand. Listen, one time, real quick,
Yeah.
when I was mayor, we had a police officer that raided a home outside of our community, and I didn't fire him, but the city manager and the police chief fired him. He sued me in federal court personally and said I was involved in all kind of murder investigation, tried to get things. I mean, it was awful, and they would print it in the paper and throw it at my house. And so I've been there, brother. I know what you mean. I haven't been there as bad as you have. I don't mean it that way.
Well,
but I mean, I know what it's like to go in a restaurant and think everybody there is looking at you.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean,
It was
I wasn't
shameful.
out, I didn't get out publicly and say Mike's the great guy, and I wasn't an elected official or anything. But I certainly felt like you got a raw deal, and I would say that in any forum.
And I appreciate that, but I wanted you to know that's my angle on this whole thing.
I understand.
Is I don't have anything
And listen, I want to be
Richard.
loyal too, right?
Yeah.
I want my friends to be loyal to me, and I want to be loyal to them.
Yes. Yeah.
And I've considered Paul a friend.
Yeah.
That's why I went and sat with him and looked him in the eye, and we had a man-to-man conversation.
Sure. If you take this campaign, then I'm gonna be loyal to you. It's not gonna be disloyal to
No,
Paul,
no.
but I'll be loyal to you. You want it fair and square. So
Let's go back to the bio.
let's go back to the biosludge. I just wanted to get that out because I want people that if y'all thinking that I might be too hard on Richard, that the angle where I'm coming from has nothing to do with Richard. It has everything to do with my loyalty with Paul. Does that make sense?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So biosludge. Let's back up a couple of things that we talked about. Where you lived on Black Champ, they did this to the high school. It smelled, but it wasn't too terrible. And then
Well, I'm not that close to it. But.
yeah. And then, but out in when you've talked to farmers, some farmers and some ranchers, I guess I'm sure the guys who used it have a different attitude of this, obviously.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's some people that loved it, and it's the best thing I've ever used. I wish I had it back, whatever. But here's
How
what
do
I
we know
understand.
we're safe though?
Well, I don't. I don't. Now, one of the questions I have for people that are making this an issue, and I don't think why is it just an issue in Precinct 3? Why is it not an issue with the state representative who could pass a law to stop it? Why is it not an issue with other races that
I
deal
don't know.
with it?
Yeah.
I do.
What?
You and I both know because Paul made it an issue. Okay? He's the one that brought it up. Now, I'm not saying it's not an issue. I'm just saying it's been brought up in this race as though it's something to do with Precinct 3. And it's not a Precinct 3 issue. It's a issue.
Yeah. I mean,
Are we going to use biosolids or are we not going to use biosolids?
yeah. That's
right?
that's the bottom
Now,
line.
at the end of the day, the commissioner has no authority over that.
Now the commissioner can go. Well, I'm not. That's going to be an argumentative type of deal, and that's not what we're going to do. So you're.
Now, I didn't say they couldn't influence it. I
Okay.
didn't say they couldn't have a role. I just said they're not going to. Whether they bring biosolids and put it on land in Ellis County, now how they get up and down the roads and there's some enforceable issues there.
Mm-hmm.
But the commissioner in Precinct 3 is not going to set state law and is not going to run TECQ. Is not going to. I'm not saying influence you. Not listen to me.
No, I am listening.
I'm talking about. But a state representative could file a bill to stop it.
Yes. Yeah.
You can't file a bill in
Well, is he gonna file? I mean, file a bill if if no one's complaining. I mean, is he gonna?
And I didn't say that. I didn't say that they don't have an influential.
Right.
It's like when we were talking about the roads earlier, right?
Yeah.
The county commissioner does not have the control over TxDOT,
But
they can influence. I get that about this issue, but I'm saying, why aren't we asking the people that could actually do something about it?
Well, I think that's a very good point. Why aren't we asking? So, if you get elected to the position, are you going to go to the state rep, maybe Jake Elsey or Ryan Pitts, or do I think there was another guy by the name of Rader?
You're a Raider, yeah.
Are you going to try to get I think my wife's home.
Oh.
But are you going to work and try to get this issue to be illegal? To file a law that you can't use biosolids in Ellis County.
Well, I don't know that I would go to that level. Now, I would want, the first thing I need to do, to be honest with you, and I've looked at it and I've read what TRA has to say and I've read what some others that have written a lot about this in the county, and who I'm talking, people that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not saying negative, I'm just saying I've read their stuff. And to be quite honest, there's two different, TRA saying this, they're saying this, TRA's saying, now I think you'll get TRA and the company Renda that they do business with would probably admit that there was abuses at one time. Now, and maybe their systems weren't working right or whatever. But I don't know that it needs to be totally outlawed. I think they're using it some now in the county. I don't know that there's been a lot of, I don't
think
know.
they are, yeah.
Personally, I mean, I haven't seen it or have personal testimony, but be quite honest with you, what I would want to do is educate myself better. And if I came to the conclusion that I thought that it was harmful, and what they were doing right now was, what we talked about,
Sure.
leaching into our water, all that kind of thing. And yeah, I would go to them and say, we need to file a bill to outlaw this thing.
Let me ask you this, and you can.
But
answer.
I don't personally know that today.
Right. Well, let me ask you this: these farmers and ranchers that you've discussed that like the stuff,
Yeah.
is any of those guys supporting your candidacy monetarily?
No, not that I know.
Okay.
I can't think of anybody that has given me. I'm trying to think now. I don't know of anybody that has told me that they've used it or are using it that is monetary. Now I have some people, signs on some property of folks that have expressed they liked it, but other than that, I don't think they've ever given me any money.
Do you think that's a contradiction?
Now let me just say this to you: them saying they liked it and they didn't. Nobody's come to me and said we got to get this back, or I need it back on my property.
Okay.
I haven't had that
So
conversation.
they didn't come to you and say, "We want you to be,"
But I've
because
had
the other
people-
guy doesn't want biofuel.
Right? Yeah, we want you because that guy doesn't want. Yeah, nobody's told me
Okay.
that.
But some of the people that have used it, obviously, here's the deal. If my voters want such and such, regardless of what Mike wants, that's the way I got to roll. Do you agree with that?
Well, to a certain degree, but I mean, if they asked you to violate your principles, you wouldn't do that.
No,
get
I
elected,
would
you would-
resign, but
Right? You'd either have to resign or
go
get
against my
voted out
principles.
or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, or get voted out. And I think that
And all I'm saying is, I agree with you. My goal is to serve those who elected me. But if they asked me to violate my principles, I couldn't do that.
right, but you would resign.
Right.
Yeah, same here. I mean, if I disagreed with biosolids and my voters wanted me to be on the point to get biosolids into this county, then
Right.
and
I
then
could-
so I
don't-
changed my who I am for them to get
Right.
this job.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. And I'm not going to do that for anybody.
Yeah, I think we got off on on a tangent, but okay. So biosolids again.
Well, can we talk about that just a little bit further?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So the attack has been made against me that I have been involved in the biosolids business. That's a bald-faced lie.
Okay.
I have never, ever, ever,
In
never,
the
ever,
lobbying?
I've never, I'll address it.
Okay.
I have been, as you know, a state registered lobbyist in the past. It's
Yeah.
been a while. It's been, there's two parts. When I was in Austin, I worked for Waste Management, was a client of mine. And so I registered in Austin. It's been, I think it was maybe 2003 or 4 since I've been a lobbyist in Austin. But I'm proud of my business record. I represented good causes and worked hard to do good things, not just for the companies that I work for, but things I believed in, right?
Okay.
Now, Waste Management's not in the biosolids business. They never have been in the biosolids business. I never lobbied for anything to do with the biosolids business. That's a lie.
Okay.
Okay? I don't know how to say it stronger than that. I've never worked for RINDA. I've never been on the TRA board or had anything to do with the TRA.
Any influence whatsoever?
Any influence whatsoever. Never, ever.
Okay.
Okay? Now, in 2012, I was, I think around that time frame, it was somebody put it on Facebook, so I'll say, I'll go with that, that I was registered in the city of Dallas working for Waste Management. And I did. I was doing some consulting for them, and the city of Dallas requires you, if you're an outside consultant or lobby, whatever you want to call it,
To register.
that you register. And I try to, obey the law. And I registered. And I got nothing to apologize for. I had nothing to do with human waste, biosolid, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. I've never had anything to do with that. And I want to come on this and tell you, when the strongest terms, I have never, ever represented anything to do with human waste.
Fair enough.
Period.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Anything that's weird with waste management?
I mean, Waste Management runs a lot of landfills, and they did at that time, and so they.
Were you lobbying for less control?
No, I didn't lobby, and it's really kind of a misnomer to call it lobbying. But what I did was, I was a consultant, right? Mm-hmm. So Waste Management is where I worked with them is in their trash collection business, like in your house here.
Okay. All right.
So
That's a big
cities
difference.
put out RFPs, requests for proposals, And we work as a consultant. I worked with them to, write answers to RFPs and that kind of thing. I didn't lobby, in other words, I wasn't trying to change the law or any of that kind of thing. Never. Now I did when I was in Austin years ago, but not on the local level.
Are you?
I don't
okay?
represent them anymore.
Okay. Are you okay with everything you did lobby for waste management in Austin, or do you have second thoughts on any of that?
No.
Do you want to address any of that?
To be honest with you, you want me to tell you the real truth?
Sure.
I didn't ever really do anything for waste management in Austin. But since I represented them locally, I reported that because I didn't want anybody to accuse me of not reporting something.
Yeah, you never know around here.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't even around here then.
Yeah. No,
but I wanted to go overboard in reporting.
Sure. If you're going to put yourself out in the public domain, you're going to have people come. They're going to be looking.
Let me address one other question that has to do with it, if I can.
Sure.
We got time.
Yeah.
So, a few years ago, a partner of mine and I started a company called Solid Waste Specialist, and somebody accused me of being in that my company's in that business, and it's not. What we do is we write RFPs for cities, and so a city is going to put out a request for proposal for their trash collection at the house and at the businesses in town. We write that RFP for the city. We help them score that process. Somebody said, "Oh, you're like I'm not a broker. I work for the city. The city hires me and my partner, and we come in and write that document. We help them go through the process of scoring that document. We make a recommendation of we think this company X, company Y, company Z is the."
So the city paid you.
Yes, exactly right.
Okay.
Well,
that's
for
a big
the
difference.
taxpayers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, it is, because then you have to please the master. Who is the master? At this point, it would be the city instead of the client,
Right.
the waste management. So yeah, I think that's a good thing. What else you got on that? You want to?
That's about it. I mean, I just want people to know that I've never had anything to do with that business whatsoever. And if I was elected commissioner, I would come at that with a very open heart and mind and say, if it's an issue that we need to work with Austin to eliminate, then I'd be their advocate in that.
I don't know that we've nailed it down on your position.
And I told you, I'm not.
You're not going to take a position?
No, I'm not going to say I'm for it or against it.
Yeah, that's a position.
I'm not trying to be middle of the road. I'm just telling you, I haven't personally come to the conclusion yet in my research that says.
But it's a little late in the game, though, Richard. I mean, Paul's come out against it.
I'm happy for him.
I know, but here's where the cutting starts. I mean, as a candidate, one's come out against it, and you haven't made up your mind whether you're against it or.
I'm against putting stuff on the ground that causes harm to our environment. Okay, my study of this. Do I think it was abusive? Do I think people had problems? Yes, absolutely.
What would be different?
Because now I think TRA for one thing has gotten their what's the word I'm looking for? Contractor under control. Their contractor was evidently putting too much of it down the wrong times of the year, too many places.
But you say you think.
Because I don't know, Mike. I mean, I'm just telling you honestly.
Okay.
I could lie to you. You want me to lie to you? No, you don't. That's a rhetorical question. Yeah. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to come on here and say I know everything about this when I don't. And I haven't studied it. I assume Paul has studied it to the point where he feels comfortable with making that deal. I've been in this race for 2 months, and I haven't, to be quite honest, I haven't had time to sit down and look at all. I've read some of it. I've looked at it. I have questions about it. I have concerns about it.
Do you think it's going to come down to
that issue? I'm not in favor of polluting, and I'm not in favor of people having to put up with toilet next to their house. Yeah. I'm not in favor of that. No.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I'm not going to bash you. Do you think that's going to be an issue though on March 3rd? The biosolids.
Well, I mean, as you know, early voting's already started, but sure. I'm sure it is. Yeah, it's an issue with some folks. Sure.
Do you think you're going to make up a mind before March the 3rd of position on it, or no?
I'm going to be right where I'm at right now.
Well, you're being honest.
Yeah.
But I think people are going to want to know, where does Richard stand on this? Because really, no one knows where Richard stands on this still. And they're not going to know today. This is all you.
I understand.
And I'm not trying to talk you into it. I'm just telling you what people I know that watch this, they think, unfortunately, y'all think like me. I don't know where you stand on it, and I would like to know if you're going to be my commissioner. I
Well,
would
thank
like,
you for that.
yeah. If you get elected,
I know you didn't say if. You said you're going to be my. I was teasing you. It's a joke.
well, and Mike can't. I'm not a soothsayer. I don't know who's going to win this
I know
election.
that. I was just playing.
Yeah.
And I'll try to answer it again. Okay. And this is best I can do for you at this point.
Okay.
I'm not in favor of.
Look up there.
Okay. I'm not in favor of polluting people. I'm not in favor of dumping sewer next to people's houses that causes bad smell and people to get sick and polluting our waters or anything like that. I would not support any of those kind of things. I am opposed to what went on previously. Now, whether biosolids can be safely applied to the property, I don't know the answer to that yet. I know what went on was bad. I know I would have been opposed to that. But I don't know exactly where they're putting it down now. I'm not hearing a lot of complaints out there in the community of it being an issue. I know some people believe it's an issue, but I'm talking about an ongoing issue, Mike. I'm talking about right now, this minute.
Well, I think it's going to be a campaign issue.
No, I understand where you're coming from. Okay, and I don't think anybody's confused about that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that as I've gone around, nobody's come up to me and gone, they came over by me last Saturday and they put this stuff down and it smells terrible.
Yeah, understood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now they said that to me that they did it 6, 7, 8 years ago.
And didn't like it.
Didn't like it.
Okay.
I agree with them. I don't like it. And if I'd have been there, I'd have been working with them to oppose that.
Right.
All right. But I'm saying today, as I've walked around, nobody said it's happening to me today. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it is, there are remedies for that. There are people that serve in positions that are in this county that have ability to directly affect that.
Sure. Yeah. And I think, we get wrapped around the axle about, well, president's going to do this. He wants to do this. But if you really think about it, what can the president do by himself? He's got to have, other than executive orders. Mm-hmm. But we know that's, of all the things that get done, all the laws that are passed, very, very small partial percentage is executive orders. So my point being is a commissioner he can go all day long and say, I'm not going to allow biosolids when it comes to biosolids. I'm not going to allow biosolids in Precinct 3. And I know, and everybody else should know, that he's one man. He can't do it by himself. There'd have to be other laws, state laws, or even policies, ordinances in the county and then that'd have to be voted on. So my intent here was to see what he felt about it, not what he can do. I just wanted to know where his mind was on that issue. So if he says he's going to allow it, he ain't got no say so over in the scheme of things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there is people that do. If we get enough people in places of importance, then yeah, we the people. I've heard that before, haven't you?
Yeah.
But it's true. We the people can make things happen, and we want to know. The majority of people want to know that the people who are representing us are representing us,
right.
Not representing big business or the rancher or the